You're listening to Pro Talk Wrestling with NateFNGreat. People up and down, what's up? If you feel me, stand up and say what's up. It's time for the Game Changer podcast with NateFNGreat. Hey guys, how's it going? It's time for another edition of Pro Talk Wrestling, where I talk about professional wrestling, give my opinions, because I'm indeed a smart aleck. Because I can't say smartass because somebody else took that line, as well as the clever thumbs up, cheesy smile, ding. So this week for wrestling has been very up and down per se, because we had an incredible NXT Takeover 25 event. Then we got to hear some more details that came out of the Dean Ambrose interviews, because there was more than just the Chris Jericho interview. There was quite a few very interesting interviews that came out of these Jon Moxley deals. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Also, indeed, mention the whole thing about Raw and SmackDown, because I kind of have to. And also, big, huge match that was announced for AEW All Out. So Chicago is definitely going to have a reason to want to go see this show. It's going to be an absolutely fun-filled deal. And of course, we're going to continue the list of favorites that I have for professional wrestling. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into talking about it. So, one of the first things that I wanted to discuss was the comments that were brought up by Mr. Dean Ambrose himself, Jon Moxley. As I mentioned before, he didn't just speak on the Chris Jericho podcast. No. He actually went on the podcast with Wade Keller, and he actually did a 2-part podcast interview with him, talking a bit more about WWE creative, Vince McMahon. He even goes into depth about the Stone Cold podcast that he was a part of. But the main thing that kind of stood out to me here was the discussions that he had about Brock Lesnar. So this was one of those things that I should not be surprised by, but at the same time, I am most definitely shocked by this, and I'm also a bit pissed off about it, because this is again why it's so cancerous to have this man in WWE. He is basically holding the whole entire company in the palm of his hand, and Vince is just going to encourage it. Yeah, I get it. He's an attraction, but at the same time, there has to be some limitations set. And when you give him a contract that's basically going to give him, creative freedom, he's going to do whatever the hell he wants. Case in point, you look at everything they're doing with him and the Money in the Bank deal. They first had him come out doing the whole Boombox deal, which was entertaining, I will admit. Probably one of the more entertaining things that he's done since coming back in 2012. But other than that, it's just been a complete travesty. It has just been absolute asinine deal after asinine deal. This past week on Raw, he said, hey, I'm going to cash in my Money in the Bank deal on Seth Rollins for the Universal title. And what did he do? After Baron Corbin beat down Seth Rollins to hype up their match at Super Showdown, which unfortunately I'll have to do my predictions on that, because why the hell, I feel like this is going to be very torturous. But after Baron Corbin beat down Seth Rollins, he came out, he beat down Seth Rollins, he gave him a low blow, he bashed him with chairs, he did German suplexes. You look at Seth Rollins' body, he just looked absolutely demolished. And it's just one of those things where it's scary, because if Brock does something horrible, he is going to have probably creative liberty to basically just say, well, it happens. I mean, the guy's not tough enough, obviously. And Vince will just be like, well, I guess you're right. I guess he's not tough enough. You're right. You should be the champion again. That is something I do not want to see. So literally, Seth Rollins got the ever-living piss beat out of him. And then Brock just says to Paul, no, I'm not cashing in tonight. I'm going to wait until Super Showdown. So when they basically said, hey, we're cashing in on Monday, now it's like, okay, we're going to troll the audience and have them think we're going to cash in, but we're not going to. Which I get. They've done that in the past with guys like Mr. Anderson and Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler. So many people have done that. But, actually, I don't even know if I can even defend it. I don't even know if I can argue against it. He is basically doing what everybody else has done. So I can't argue it. I really can't. I just hate the fact that it is still stuck on a part-timer, and that the possibility of seeing Brock as the champion again is just... it's infuriating. It's mind-boggling. I don't like his attitude, which... Okay, let's get back to the point I was trying to make earlier. So, Dean Ambrose talks about his deal with Brock Lesnar, and obviously people remember his match at WrestleMania 32, where it was a no-holds-barred street fight, basically. They put in so many different extreme deals into it, because why the hell not? Let's just put every single adjective into this matchup, and we'll just let it go. Dean Ambrose actually had some really good ideas going into that. Now, let's actually talk about some of the build-up that was going into this. The main thing that he talked about was that he hated the fact that he came out during a Brock Lesnar promo with a little red wagon. He hated that. He hated the fact that it was a prop that just made him look silly. In all honesty, I agree. Had he used maybe like a shopping cart, or maybe he used like maybe like a trash bin, something that might be a little more, I guess manly, you could say, it probably would have made more sense. But unfortunately, nope, it was a little red wagon, and that was the first step where it's like, okay, this match is not going to be that good. The second step was that they gave him probably one too many props, one of which was the Terry Funk baseball wire bat, to which he never got the chance to use. Actually, I don't even think so many people, allowed him to, use the weapons that he wanted to use. I mean, I think he got a crowbar from... Maybe it was a crowbar. No, he got a baseball bat from Mick Foley. He got the chainsaw from Terry Funk. I think that's it. But they really didn't do that much with that matchup. And Dean Ambrose had so many cool ideas. And every single time he got a chance to talk to Brock before WrestleMania, he would go up to Brock and he would say, okay, hey, I want to go through a couple ideas that I have for the matchup. Hopefully. And Brock would just say, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Well, it's like, okay, we're getting closer and closer. And, of course, Dean is starting to worry about it. It's like, hey, man, can we just sit down? Can we talk about it? It's like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. Obviously, it's another notch on Dean Ambrose's back. And we get to the day of WrestleMania. He's not gotten a chance to present his ideas to Brock Lesnar. It's infuriating him. Brock Lesnar doesn't even show up until later. I think everybody showed up pretty early. And he didn't come in until maybe like 3, 4 o'clock, probably just as WrestleMania started, and he didn't get a chance to really talk about those stuff, so a lot of the stuff that he wanted to do got scrapped. And I think the only idea he was able to bring up to Brock was the idea that, okay, all right, so you're going over, but how about after I lose to you, I do a deal where, I mace you in the face. And Brock's like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So they tried to do this kind of deal where they're trying to set up like the whole mace deal. They're trying to make it look cool. They're trying to make it look edgy. Unfortunately, everything they did just failed. And he makes a comment that, we could have had weeks to prepare for this and it could have gotten better. But when we only had so many hours until this actually happens, there was nothing really much he could do. So he knew right after there, it's like, oh, this matchup's not going to be that good. This is not good at all. I think it was one of those few times where you definitely hear him basically seeing the fact that Brock Lesnar is not what's best for business. There's even another situation where at SummerSlam this last year, the original plan was for the Shield to come out and to take out, take out Braun Strowman, since he was the Money in the Bank holder, and that was where the Shield was supposed to reunite. They didn't think it was going to probably impact, the Roman Reigns title win, stuff like that. I think that Dean and Seth were both okay with it. They were like, yeah, no, it's going to be fine. We can work with it. But Brock was the one who came in, and he literally said to Vince, I don't like this idea. Let's go down this route. And Vince just says, oh, you're right. That's a better idea. So you're giving Brock more creative control, and literally everybody in that match looked stupid except for Brock. Yeah, that's smart business. Yeah. It's infuriating because, again, we've said this for a long time. And honestly, I even suggested the idea in an earlier podcast that how I would love to see them do this whole deal with Brock Lesnar is to have one of the most powerful entities be the one that beats him. Have, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, they come out when the referee gets knocked down, and, they triple powerbomb Brock Lesnar. So it's kind of one of those situations where Brock still looks a bit strong because it took 3 guys to beat him. But we also have, again, a situation where it's like, okay, well, we got the strongest beast in the WWE, possibly taking out the strongest entity in WWE. Honestly, it could have set up for a really good matchup. We could have seen Brock Lesnar versus The Shield in a 3-on-1 handicap match. It could even throw it into an elimination matchup. And I think people would have enjoyed that. I would have enjoyed that thoroughly, actually, now that I think about it. Just seeing, Brock Lesnar throwing people around, and then you could see the Shield getting some comeuppance on Brock Lesnar. It's a match that really does sound like it would be a really great idea. And that was something that they could have done, but because Brock wanted to do it his own way, he was the one that looked best in that entire deal. And I'm sure Brock fans are just going to be like, yeah, and that's because he's the best business decision or businessman in sports right now. You're right about that, but he's also hurting the business. He really is. Because like I said, I would have preferred the Shield deal. I would have preferred a really good matchup between Brock and Dean. I would have preferred a lot of different things to go with Brock Lesnar. Unfortunately, though, they just decided to do these different deals. And we have seen different examples of Brock not caring about the WWE or even the WWE Universe. Prime example, WrestleMania 34. He threw the Universal Championship at Vince McMahon after his match with Roman Reigns. He shows that he does not respect the company, and he doesn't respect McMahon, and he doesn't respect the title that he has. It's asinine just to see that. So, if you haven't gotten a chance, guys, I definitely would recommend, again, going to check out the Talk is Jericho podcast with John Moxley, and also the Wade Keller interview. Is a 2-parter, guys, so it's probably about 2 hours worth of your life that you will not regret. That he goes a little more in depth with all the things that happened in WWE. So with that being said, we can move on from that and talk about, what the hell, Monday Night Raw. Honestly, it did absolutely nothing for me. I'm not going to lie. I did not even watch Raw this week. I went out and I saw the movie Ma with Octavia Spencer with my good buddy Max Beatty, who is Agent Cooper. You can check him out on Twitter at Agent Blocked, and he also has his own YouTube channel where you can definitely check that out. We went and we saw that, and all throughout the movie, I kept on getting message after message after message after message of people just saying, this is stupid, this is horrible, this sucks. And I got the chance to watch highlights of this event, and I'm glad that I went and I saw a movie instead. Raw is slowly tanking. Raw is just turning into an abomination. What happened during Raw, other than him destroying Seth Rollins, what else really happened during that event? We got Nikki Cross versus Peyton Royce. Okay. We got a confrontation between Baron Corbin and Seth Rollins. Okay, I guess it's to build up the event deal. We have Shane McMahon beating down Roman Reigns, not only on Raw, but also on SmackDown. I don't care. The Firefly Funhouse. Honestly, it was a very entertaining one. I was very concerned when they went totally into that dark realm deal that they weren't going to be able to just pan back and do the entertaining deals that he did with the early videos. Excuse me. But I was sorely mistaken. It was just one of those things where it's like they only picked one episode where they did that whole dark deal where he had the mask on, he had the dark figure, he just did that, and then the next week he just came out like nothing even happened. I mean, he'll still acknowledge it, but it's one of those things where it's just like, hey, guys, it's okay. It's kind of like one of those things where you're slowly realizing, maybe this guy's a little bit crazy. And before you know it, you're already caught. And maybe that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're basically trying to keep luring us in to this Bray Wyatt gimmick to the point where we can't from it. I think it's smart. I think it's great. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in future weeks to come. I'm looking forward to when he debuts, when he comes back in the ring. And honestly, guys, what he's doing with these videos, it's highly entertaining. And that's fine. It's good that we at least have one good gem in this pile of steaming shit that is Monday Night Raw. Okay, there's one of two. The other one involves the ugliest championship you'll ever see, and that being the 24/7 title. R-Truth has just been hunted down left and right, just trying to get away from all these challengers. In all honesty, again, he's almost like Crash Holly. He's turning into this guy who literally has to basically sleep with his eyes open. He has to look out everywhere he goes. He can't eat. He can't sleep. He can't do anything without somebody coming after him for the 24/7 championship. And now he's a 4-time champ, because here's basically the title history within the last 2 weeks. We had it go to Titus O'Neil just because he grabbed it. Then Bobby Roode won it. Robert Roode, I apologize. Then R-Truth pinned him. Then we had Elias pin R-Truth. R-Truth pinned back. Then we had Jinder pin R-Truth on a golf course. Then R-Truth won it back. Then we had Elias this past week on SmackDown. He defeated R-Truth. And R-Truth somehow, under the ring with Elias, won the title again. R-Truth is the Crash Holly. He's already on his 4th reign. And everybody else, the second best is Elias. Elias is the only guy who's won the title more than one time. Everybody else is still going after him. It's insane. But it's still funny seeing these things because R-Truth is highly entertaining. He does a great job with this championship that nobody could care about the design for. And he's doing gold with it. It's great to see. So, again, another nice little gem in WWE right now. But now we have to go into the darkest of dark clouds, and that being WWE Super Showdown, happening in the Middle East. Yay. Sorry, it's happening in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I'm just going to go through the matches. I'm not even going to explain them all. Usos versus Rival in a tag match. I'm giving it to Revival. I don't care. Lars versus Lucha House Party. Lars Sullivan. Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin for the Universal Championship. Seth Rollins retains. Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE title. Kofi wins. Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon. For the love of God, give it to Roman Reigns. We have the Intercontinental title. We have Finn Balor versus Andrade Cien Almas. I see Finn Balor retaining because he's bringing out the demon. Randy Orton versus Triple H. Just Give it to Randy Orton. I really just don't care. We have Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley. I do see Strowman picking up the victory here. 50-man Battle Royal for no reason, and other than the fact that it's a Battle Royal. Who cares? Who legitimately cares? If I have to pick one, I'd have Drake Maverick. What the hell? Then we'll have Goldberg versus The Undertaker, because I know they're promoting it again. It's WCW versus WWE. Undertaker's going to pick up the victory. I would much rather see Goldberg win, but I see them giving Taker the notch. Whoop-de-doo. That was it. Now, I actually do want to talk about Drake Maverick for a minute, because he has actually been getting some very positive responses from backstage people, backstage hands, per se, about his performance as of late. And honestly, this was something that I wanted to see of him. He can be a very entertaining guy. When he was in Impact Wrestling, he was just very funny as EC3's lackey. Then he continued to just be entertaining on his own. He created a persona, and he made some of the best, funniest moments that you'll ever see. And everything that he's doing with R-Truth, it's just hilarious. I guarantee you that Rockstar Spud's going to win that title sooner rather than later, especially if he's getting praise from the backstage politics. All right. So from there, I will definitely talk about the All Elite Wrestling deal before we go into a break. They announced one of their matches for their show in Chicago, All Out, which now I will officially say that I will be going to. They announced that the AEW World Championship will be on the line, and it will be Hangman Page versus Chris Jericho to determine the first inaugural AEW champion. I'm excited for this. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be spectacular. I love this. I want this, and I'm going to get a chance to see it. So, for those of you that are going to be there, I will see you at StarCast, and I will see you at All Out. Going to take a little commercial break. Come back, we'll talk about NXT Takeover 25, as well as go into the favorites, and maybe I'll bring up some other Raw and SmackDown deals that took place this week. But other than Alexa Bliss winning a triple threat match to be the number one contender for the SmackDown Women's title, I can't think of anything else that was just outstanding. It was just a very boring week in WWE. So, with that being said, guys, take a little break, and I'll be right back. Smart Money, AJ Jensen, Chris Lockman, one of the best duos in all of Central Wisconsin. Join them as they discuss a lot of great hot topic wrestling deals, such as features in WWE, Ring of Honor, stuff in Central Wisconsin as well as the entire state of Wisconsin, AEW, New Japan, and many more. Check them out on their podcast, the Smart Money Podcast, proud friends of the Game Changer Podcast.
Check out the guys over at Eclectic Media Project. They bring you podcasts such as Musically Challenged. Whose podcast is it anyway? Want to hear something interesting? And their newest podcast, Page 3.14 News. Check them out on Podbean and iTunes at Eclectic Media Project. On their website at www.eclecticmediaproject.com. Check them out as they are the home with a little something for almost everyone.
You're listening to the Game Changer Podcast here on Spreaker.com. All right, welcome back, you guys, to the Game Changer podcast. This is indeed hashtag Pro Talk Wrestling. For those of you that would like to be a part of that, definitely go on Twitter and be sure to tag me at RealFNGame and talk to me by saying hashtag Pro Talk Wrestling. Pro Tac Wrestling. Man, just can't talk today, can I? So, a few things that I will definitely be discussing. This week is going to be a very, very emotional week because on Saturday will be the final Rant with Ants podcast. So definitely you guys check it out, show your love, show your support to three of the greatest minds in podcast wrestling right now, that being Issa, Demon Diva, Philium, Mr. Phil, and Anthony, because these guys are going to give us one more fantastic show with so many shout-outs that you guys definitely do not want to miss out on. It's going to be absolutely just, oh my gosh, it's going to be, it's just going to be such a, it's going to be a really rough show. Like I said, I've talked very highly about these three individuals. Rant with Ant has definitely created a wrestling family that cannot be replicated, can't be duplicated. It's just, it's going to be a really, really hard podcast to get through. But to everybody at Rant with Ant, thank you. And just know that WrestleAddict Radio is going to be going through a lot of changes. The Game Changer podcast will be a part of WrestleAddict Radio in the near future. I can guarantee it. So, with that being said, let's talk about NXT Takeover 25. Oh my god. So, this event had stern competition the previous week when they had to take on AEW Double or Nothing. They had a fantastic card. It was 4 hours long, and they had, I think, about maybe like 8-9 matches, I want to say, that were fantastic. So many of them I really enjoyed. And there's even people that might say, well, this match was dumb, this match was slow, this match was uninteresting. For me, I was invested in every single match. And I expect nothing less going into the future AEW shows. They're going to be absolutely can't miss. So definitely check them out, you guys. But here to talk about NXT TakeOver 25. As far as NXT goes for this past episode, they had Keith Lee defeating Kona Reeves. A pretty good matchup. And I will say this, the more I look at Keith Lee, the more I'm looking at it and thinking to myself, yeah, he's literally like King Ricky from the Kings of the Rings podcast. He is very egotistical. He definitely has a huge amount of confidence in him for good reason. And they're very talented. So it's honestly crazy kind of seeing that. But don't expect me to sing the whole, oh, bask in the glory of Keith. Sure as hell is not going to happen. But we also had Mia Yim taking on Bianca Belair in what was a really good matchup. This is the rubber match between the two of them. And honestly, the fact that it happened the night of a show as big as NXT TakeOver 25, that's saying a lot. This was a really good matchup. This could have headlined TakeOver 25 had they not filled up all 5 of their spots. But, with that being said, Mia Yim picked up the victory here. And I will say this, I'm hoping that she does move on from Bianca Belair and moves on to the NXT Women's Championship picture, which I will explain in just a bit. So, first matchup on the card was Matt Riddle taking on Roderick Strong. Oh my god, this was just absolutely fantastic of a matchup. We saw Matt Riddle focusing on the back and on the body of Roderick Strong working on the body of Matt Riddle. We saw Riddle try to out-wrestle Roderick Strong, but Roderick Strong had an answer for basically everything. It wasn't until the very end where we saw Matt Riddle hit a new finisher, which was a belly-to-belly slam, but he used a cradle position, so it was kind of like a reverse cradle pile driver, but into a Styles Clash version instead of like a drop down on the knees motion. It was kind of a nice touch. It was an interesting finisher, but Matt Riddle picks up the victory. as some people might have been surprised by it. I think some people thought that Roddy would have picked up the victory, but the original Bro picked up the win. I give this one an A. I think it was a really good matchup. I loved that it kicked off the show, and it really gave us a lot to look forward to going into the night. Speaking of which, this goes into the next matchup, which was the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the NXT Tag Team titles. We had Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, taking on Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, the Forgotten Sons. We had the Street Profits, as well as Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. So, I will say this, that I do agree with my friend AJ Jensen from Spark Mighty Podcast. He basically said that it seems like Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch are almost like the bastard sons of Cesaro. You look at this matchup, you'll see so many uppercuts, so many hard-hitting moves that they've done. You might be indeed somehow related to Cesaro in one way or another. But the main thing I definitely wanted to hit on this matchup was the amount of punishment that Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly took in this matchup. Oh my God. Kyle O'Reilly landed on the ladder so many times in so many awkward ways, and he landed off the ladder and he was getting wrecked. You saw blood coming out of the bottom of his back. He had a scar on the side of his back. He had welts from these ladder spots. There was a point where the Forgotten Sons had a ladder on each of them. They're basically just knocking people over, but then they got hit with, I think it was a German suplex, if I'm not mistaken. They got thrown up, and I thought that the ladder was going to hit Kyle O'Reilly and just crush him. Thankfully, it barely got him. It missed him. But also Bobby Fish, oh my gosh. Near the end, he got wrecked. He got hit on his shoulder, and then you hear him just scream, no. He gets thrown into the turnbuckle, boom. At the end of the night, he is wearing an arm cast, arm brace, I should say, sling. So this concerns me that he could have really injured that shoulder with that spot. But in the end, the Street Profits pick up the victory. In all honesty, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that after all the abuse that they put into this matchup, Undisputed Era should have won. That is the bottom line when it comes to this. So for this, I had to give it a B+. I'm going to give it an A-. Just because of the brutality that these guys went through, especially Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, they just absolutely just destroyed they got destroyed in this matchup. They deserve so much more than what they're getting. So hopefully, again, like I said, that the whole thing with Bobby Fish is not serious, but we'll see. Then we went on to Tyler Breeze versus Velveteen Dream in a match for the North American Championship. Really good matchup. A lot of great spots, a lot of really great storyline chemistry between these two individuals. They just absolutely, really brought the show to a standstill because of the performance that they were putting on. Tyler Breeze hit a great unprettier, but Velveteen Dream, he sold that like no other. He just sold it like he got spiked on his head from the unprettier. He made that move look deadly. We see Velveteen Dream and Tyler Breeze just super kicking each other like crazy. We see Velveteen Dream hit the Death Valley Bomb, which is that rolling Death Valley driver that he does. And he's getting ready to hit the Rainmaker. Unfortunately, though, Tyler Breeze is able to get out of the way. We see Tyler Breeze hit the beauty shot kick on Velveteen Dream. He's able to roll out of the ring. And he comes so close to winning. But Velveteen Dream able to take advantage of a small distraction, was able to hit his move again. He's able to hit the Rainmaker for the 1-2-3 and pick up the victory. And then we got a cool spot at the end where Velveteen Dream and Tyler Breeze share a nice little selfie between the two of them. It's a small earning of respect from Velveteen Dream onto Tyler Breeze, who is now an official full-time member of NXT. Well deserved. And if he keeps putting on matches like that, he will definitely be the next NXT champion. We go from there to the women's title matchup between Shayna Baszler and Io Shirai. A really good matchup between these two women. Shayna Baszler is just getting better and better in the ring the more I see her. But Io Shirai is just, oh my gosh. The fact that they brought up the article that stated that she was more than likely the best performer, the best wrestler in the world right now, regardless of gender. She definitely showcased that in this matchup. She was able to counter so many times with Shayna Baszler's moves, and she's able to hit a beautiful moonsault. So many points we thought that Io Shirai was going to pick up the victory, but Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, they got involved and tried to cost Io the match. But Candice LeRae is able to kind of even the odds just a little bit. But in the end, Shayna Baszler is able to pull off this beautiful counter from a modified O'Connor roll, I think it was, and force Io Shirai to tap out. So Shayna Baszler is still the champion, but she wasn't the one that was left standing after that matchup because Io Shirai just went to town on her with a kendo stick, beating her up, giving her a nice waltz on the back. Then we see Io Shirai hit a moonsault with a chair. Oh, this was beautiful. I have a feeling that Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler's next match is going to be like a no DQ matchup. Falls kind of anywhere, no holds barred. You name it, it's going to happen. It's going to be absolutely can't miss. Going to be amazing. I give this matchup another A- just because the result was just rough. But I enjoyed the matchup. No, I'm going to give it a B+. Like I said, it was a really good matchup. Not the best matchup of the night. As far as... oh, God, I forgot to... Did I give Tyler Breeze and Velveteen Dream a grading? I'm going to give it an A. It was a solid, good matchup. B+ for the women's title matchup. Still really good, but I think it's only going to get better from here. Then we go into Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, baby. One fall to a finish for the NXT Championship. Johnny Gargano came out with the Captain Marvel attire, which I thought was a nice touch. Despite what we've said about Brie Larson in the past, we cannot deny Captain Marvel has definitely shaken the landscape of superhero movies going forward. Whether it's a good or a bad thing, she definitely has shaken the landscape. Match itself, honestly, was really good. I give it an overall B+. That's only because it's hard to top the original, but they did their best. They really did. The ending was just insane. Oh my gosh. We see Adam Cole just basically hitting everything he's got. Finally hitting that knee from behind. Become the new NXT champion. This was an awesome moment just to see him celebrating with the belt. He had the Undisputed Era came out. He was hoisted up on their shoulders. They're celebrating. Everybody's happy. It was just an absolutely fantastic, a great moment. Overall, this was A-, I would say. A- to B+. I would say B+ to A-. I'm just going to leave it at that because the matches themselves were great. The results were really good. There were a couple of things that I didn't agree with, but at the same time, I really did not find myself hating this event. It was a lot of fun. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was great. Oh my gosh. NXT Takeover, you just continue to just spoil us. And we like it. We like it that way. Coming this week at the Oshkosh Masonic Center, ACW will have its 30th show, and it will also be presenting WrestleCon Aftermath, in which we will have 3 matches here, guys. In which we will have the ACW Tag Team Champions Players Club defending against Tag Team Move, Famous Trash, and Randy and Wild, who were the last minute entries into this match. I will say this, they put on a really hell of a funny promo where they're basically harassing the commissioner, Josh Weimer. They're basically trying to get into this tag team title deal. They're having him, they're going into his car, they're going to his home, they're going to his office job. Finally, Josh is just like, all right, fine, you're in the matchup. So, it's going to be a wild four-way matchup. That's good. That's going to be amazing. But there's still going to be a lot of really incredible stuff going on for that event, including Seth Gambino defending the All-Star Trophy against Isop Mitchell, who I've called him the what did I call him? I think like the knockoff Baron Corbin per se, with a hint of Sandow. This is going to be an interesting matchup because the All-Star Trophy is basically their version of Money in the Bank. They could cash in that at a title of their choosing and at any time. So we could see a new trophy holder, but you never know. And then we have the first ever 30-man All-Star Rumble, with the winner taking on Logan Lynch on August 5th to crown the new ACW Heavyweight Champion after Johnny Oshkosh surrendered the title to Josh Weimer, stating the fact that, hey, I would love nothing more than to defend this title every time I could, but they deserve a full-time champion to come back here and defend it. And he couldn't, uphold those obligations, and I understand. He's on high demand right now, so it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I get it. Just let him let him do his thing, and if he wants to come back, he'll come back. So we're going to find out who's going to take on Logan Lynch on August 5th, come this Friday. I will be at the event, and it's going to be an absolutely can't miss ordeal. And I will definitely do a review show on that either Sunday or Monday. I'll have to wait and see. But alright, so we're just about wrapped up with this, so that means that before I go, I definitely do want to talk about some of my favorites going into the events. And I believe that I am at number 6, 7. We are at the top 10. We're at the top 10. Now remember, guys, that with a lot of these, wrestlers, there's no real, order for these. These are just who I've enjoyed throughout the years. And honestly, it's not going to really matter too much until we reach the top 5. So my top 5 favorite people. But we're still at 10. So let's get into number 10 for the tag team division. I have The Miz and John Morrison. Honestly, this was just one of those tag team combinations that not only worked, but everybody in this team looked absolutely phenomenal. They really got popular after this with this whole entire tag team deal. They had a great channel on the WWE site, which was the Dirt Sheet. They built it up with a deal with a Crime Time, so they actually had a really good feud with that. They became not only World Tag Team Champions, but they also became WWE Tag Team Champions. The last team to hold, I think it was the tag team title. Which one was it? I think it was the last. I think they were the last ones to hold the Raw Tag Team titles until they had the unification match with the Colognes. Yeah, no, that sounds right. But yeah, the chemistry that these guys had for each other, they were very cocky, they were very arrogant, but they also complimented each other in the ring. It was just a fantastic tag team, and it will definitely not be replicated. And I will tell you guys this, that John Morrison is not going to be out of this neck of the woods when we talk about favorites on this list. For number 10 for the women's division, I have the woman known as Paige. She has had a lot of great success in WWE, despite what has happened to her and all of these horrible, controversial circumstances. She has been one of the women that has definitely led the troops into battle when it's come to the women's revolution. She's definitely taken that brand of diva and just demolished it. She is the anti-hero that everybody would want. She is definitely one of those women who just deserves so much more. And I will tell you guys this, that I am working on trying to get the Fighting with the Family review up, because honestly, it's a really good movie, and we recommend it, myself and Victory Bell. We saw it, it was great, and yeah, like I said, I'm going to get that video up on YouTube sooner rather than later. Then we go into the men's. Honestly, this was kind of an interesting one, but I have Christian on here. Christian is one of those heels that I definitely could not forget, whether he was doing his temper tantrum deal, whether he thought he was just self-entitled to everything. He became one of those guys that I looked at and just enjoyed, because he was so entertaining no matter what he did. Whether he was a babyface, whether he was a heel, whether he was the champion, whether he wasn't, he just continued to create moment after moment after moment when it came to so many great things in the WWE, in Impact Wrestling. No matter where he worked, he created something absolutely fantastic. And the only misjustice that is with him right now is that he is not in the Hall of Fame. He's one of those guys who's earned it, he deserves it, and I'm hoping that he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame very soon, because he has been long overdue to have that induction speech. And honestly, if they did, Edge tries to take over a little bit, it would be funny, but hopefully it will be Christian's night. I really want to see that. Alright, so we then go into the favorite 15 matches of 15 years. Last week I talked about The Undertaker versus Edge, which was an instant classic and definitely hyped up the streak. Now this is where they started really getting the streak as something that was absolutely must see. And that was still my favorite matchup to this date. I will definitely say it is not only within my top 5, it is still number 1. That is Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 in 2009. The build-up to this matchup definitely gave a lot of momentum for Shawn Michaels. He was the guy who went through this whole deal with JBL, where he's basically his protege, but then he earned his freedom. He beats JBL one more time to get that, freedom confirmed, but he also gets it to where he can face The Undertaker. But then they decide, okay, we're going to throw one more hurdle. We think one more person deserves it. It's going to be you versus Vladimir Kozlov. He puts a great matchup on with Vladimir Kozlov, beats him. He gets the shot at The Undertaker at WrestleMania. The build-up, again, is just great. You definitely need to watch that. I can't talks about everything that happens in this, because it's so great. Whether it's Shawn Michaels dressed up in like a whole white deal compared to Undertaker's, black attire. It's just absolutely great. Match itself was just phenomenal. You see both of these guys just trying to beat each other to a pulp. We see them taking risks that we haven't seen in quite a while. Shawn Michaels trying to moonsault. Undertaker almost killing himself with the signature Undertaker dive. Undertaker's able to counter move after move of Shawn. Shawn's able to do the same. In the end, we see Shawn Michaels make one mistake, and he gets tombstoned by The Undertaker. 1-2. Shawn kicks out, and just the reaction that people had was just absolutely phenomenal. People were just like, "Oh my God, that's insane!" Nobody's really kicked out of the tombstone like that. And also, JR played it off so well, where he just says, I had an out-of-body experience. So many people felt that. And Undertaker's face definitely gave you guys the amount of desperation that he had to finish this match, because he thought 1 tombstone, 1, 2, 3, it's done. No, as soon as Shawn kicked out at 2, Undertaker was just thinking, what? Are you kidding me? How? But it wasn't until Shawn, attempted the moonsault. Undertaker with a beautiful counter. Oh my gosh, was that awesome. Hits a second tombstone for the 3 count. Undertaker continues his streak, and he does go on to battle Shawn Michaels on more than one occasion. He battles him in a tag team matchup in Madison Square Garden. I think it was him and Cena versus DX versus Chris Jericho and the Big Show. It was a random tag team matchup, but it was still really cool to see that, because the main thing people wanted to see was, oh, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, they're going to, get a chance to see each other first time after WrestleMania. And it was great. And then we got to the great storyline of Shawn Michaels wanting to beat The Undertaker. Not only doing that, but he would do everything that he could to ensure that he got a match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. Undertaker initially said no, but then after losing the world title at Elimination Chamber, Undertaker says, I accept, as long as you put your career on the line. Then we see a great matchup between the two of them at 26. I will say that the first one, 25, is still my favorite, and it still is the best. This is probably the second best, but they still put on a phenomenal matchup. Undertaker just tombstoning Shawn Michaels like crazy, and the final tombstone, oh my gosh, where Shawn Michaels is just crawling on the Undertaker. He just does the... to Undertaker, slaps him in the face. Undertaker does this deal where he just goes completely demonized. He's like, alright, fine. Picks him up, leaping tombstone, 1, 2, 3. That's it. It's over. Shawn's career is done. There's a fantastic matchup, and this is honestly, guys, going to be that will tell you that next week's match is not Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. Honestly, next week's matchup might surprise you on what it could be. So definitely check that out, you guys. This has been my favorite matches in over 15 years, as well as favorite wrestlers. Guys, give us a like on our Facebook fan page. Give us a follow on Twitter. Give us all the love that you can give, and be sure to check out everybody on the Wrestle Addict Radio, which will be the new home for the Game Changer podcast. Definitely check that out. It's going to be an absolutely can't miss deal. I can tell you right now that soon you're going to be seeing a huge launch. So for everybody that's there, from the Gift of the Podcast to Nacho Mama's podcast, Nacho Mama's favorite soap opera podcast, we had the Fourth Wall podcast, the Kings of the Rings podcast. So many great people involved in that entire deal. So definitely check them out on Wrestle Addict Radio. They are just absolutely phenomenal. And it's going to be great to work with them again. All the people you need to see are in the links. Definitely check them out. Give them subscribes, give them follows, give them likes, whatever you can. And finally, you guys, definitely check us out on Spreaker.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Google Podcast. It's been a crazy few months for professional wrestling, and it's only going to get crazier as we look on to so many other events. Stomping Ground is just around the corner. August for me is going to be absolutely can't miss, because I will indeed be a part of All Out. We might have some people that you might be familiar with sitting next to us. It's going to be, honestly, it's going to be a lot of fun, bottom line. So for that, I've been NateFNGreat. You have been listening to hashtag Pro Talk Wrestling here on the Spreaker.com site for the Game Changer podcast. This is indeed the proud home, and it'll still be a proud home of the Game Changer podcast. And we are looking to expand, you guys. It's going to be absolutely can't miss. Starts next week. Definitely tune into that. See you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye. A Game Changer. An event idea that affects a significant shift in the current manner of doing or thinking about something. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Changer podcast. Join me and all of my friends as we look over different topics, ideas, look over different events, popular subjects, not so much popular subjects, even random ideas that you probably wouldn't even think about. As we dive into these things, give our perspectives as well as give our opinions about these perspectives, we give you guys something a little bit more to think about. Why? Because we believe in changing the game. Why? Simple. Because we can. Welcome to the Game Changer Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Strap yourselves in. It's going to be a wild and crazy ride.